this video, I'm going to be talking about what contingent means in real estate and how it's different from pending. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, stay tuned to see how these words impact you. Coming up next.
Am I awake or am I dreaming?
Hey guys, my name is Mei Schulz with your Coast to Coast Lifestyle here at eXp Realty. We just had a question come in from our client Michael, and he asked, "Hey Mei, what the heck is contingent and how is this different from pending?" Great question, Michael. So let's dive in. So if you're not familiar with what contingencies mean, essentially in this case that I'm using it, it's a checkpoint or really a constraint that you're putting on the property in order to proceed to the next step, okay? But that's not what Michael was asking his question. We hear that word contingent a lot, and so I want to clarify that type of contingency that could be part of your contract, part of your offer, whether you're the buyer or the seller. And the other side, which probably what Michael meant, is when you're looking at homes online and if you look at the status and it says, sometimes it says active, sometimes it says pending, and sometimes it says contingent. What the heck does that mean, right? Well, active obviously means that it's an active listing. It is still available, probably. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have your realtor double check on that because sometimes those statuses won't be changed, which I'll get into a little bit later. But contingent, more often than not, especially if you're the buyer, will mean, hey, the seller has accepted an offer. It is now officially under contract. However, the seller may be open to accepting backup offers. Okay, so in some markets, we see the status written as backup, but I think most markets now are just calling it contingent. So it essentially means under contract, but hey, we're open to backup offers if you want to present it. You may not be able to view the property, it depends, especially in this competitive market, right? But what pending means, if you're the buyer, is hey, this house is already under contract and we're probably not accepting backup offers, don't waste your time. That's kind of how I see it. Now, why this matters to you if you're the buyer is, do you want to waste your time and fall in love with the house knowing that, hey, it's off the market, it's potentially going to be bought by somebody else? It depends on the situation. So definitely could be something to look further into, but you may not want to waste your time. So speaking from my perspective, if I see something says contingent, I may do some more due diligence, and depending on the stage of where that offer is currently, may decide to look at other options. Now, if it says pending, I may decide to still reach out to the other realtor, to the homeowner, if I'm representing the buyer, and just see, hey, what's the scoop? What's going on? Is it still worthwhile placing a backup offer, or are you guys even open to accepting backup offers? And then proceed from there. But more often than not, we want to focus on properties that have the status as active, and so we don't waste our time and spin our wheels. Nothing in real estate is a done deal until the day it closes. Wait, what? You're probably confused right now, right? Well, no worries. Let me explain. We're used to going online on Amazon these days, making a purchase, and having it arrive at our house the next day, if not in a few hours, right? Real estate is not that up to speed. Unfortunately, you're lucky if you'll be closing in the next few weeks. So obviously, a lot can happen during that journey from when offer is accepted all the way until the deal closes. But maybe you're a first-time home buyer, so this is all new to you. If that's something you're wanting to learn about, leave a note there in the comments and maybe I'll make a video just for you. So for those of you who have some familiarity with how real estate deals come to fruition, then maybe you already know that there are certain checkpoints such as inspection, meaning you have to get a home inspection, or you may not have to, but it's your right to and definitely encouraged if you're buying a house to get a home inspection. So that's usually the first checkpoint. Another one may be if you are getting a loan, you may need to get an appraisal depending on the bank or the situation. And of course, if you're getting a loan, there's going to be a potential other contingency, which we call financing. So you'll notice that I kind of interchanged these words. I think of them as different checkpoints throughout the deal, whether or not they apply, which will be decided when the offer is accepted. So all that's going to be written out in the offer that your realtor writes for you and presents to the seller to then accept, or vice versa if you're the seller as well. So you'll definitely want to think about these contingencies that you're agreeing to or that you're requesting and how that's going to impact your deal, especially if you go under contract. Contingencies can literally make or break your deal. Let me explain. The purpose of a contingency is really kind of an out for the buyer. Let's say, for instance, a common one is if you're getting a loan And what if at the last moment you're denied the loan? Well, you won't be obligated to purchase the property if it's for that reason. So there are certain reasons why you may need to have a contingency. Something that is really up to the homeowner, or to the buyer, I should say, would be the inspection contingency. Now, I always recommend doing an inspection. There may be creative things that you could do to get around that, but I think if you're paying a lot of money for a house, even with financing, you definitely want to know the condition of the home: plumbing, electrical, roof, etc. That's my personal opinion. Even if it's a newer home, it never hurts to know the whole scoop. As a buyer, it is your protection in order to have those contingencies in place, because when you are purchasing a house, if you didn't know this, a few days after, usually within a few days after your offer is accepted, you are required to pay a deposit. Why? Well, you've got to put skin in the game. If the seller is going to lock themselves up with your contract, they need to know that you mean business, right? So typically your escrow money or earnest money deposit, we'll just call it deposit right now, can be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, even as much as $80,000 or $100,000. That's a lot of money to risk, right? So 1,000%, you want to make sure that you're making the right choice for you. Sit down with the people that you need to sit down with, talk to them about it, see if it makes sense, do your due diligence. And most importantly, if you're going to be talking with somebody, be sure that they have your best interests at heart. So once again, if you're dying to know more about the closing process, or just have any question in general, feel free to drop a note there in the comments and I'll be sure to get back to you, or potentially even make a new video just for you. So we just talked about it from the buyer's perspective, but let's switch gears and think of it from the seller's perspective. Why does this matter? Now, for a moment, if you're not a seller, think about it like this. You've got your home on the market. Maybe you need to buy another home, or obviously you've got some moves to make. You may be in a hurry, you may not be. Would you feel confident putting all your eggs in one basket? That's a question for you to decide on. Of course, when you accept an offer, you're locked into that deal. You have to see it through as the seller. By no means can you cancel your offer to go with the backup offer. It doesn't work that way. But it is nice to have some backup options in the unlikely event that your current offer were to fall through. I shouldn't say unlikely. It could happen pretty frequently. So in my opinion, if you're going to be selling a house, which is a really big deal, and potentially you're making all your plans based on that decision and that timeline, I think it's in your best interest, personally speaking as a realtor, to be open to backup options. That's just me. Even if it's cash, you never know. Depending on the contingencies that the buyer places and the seller accepts, again, up to you, but my 2 cents, I always think it's a great idea to have backup options on the table. Reason being, if something were to happen to your offer and it falls apart, yikes, well, you still have to go back to square one in a way when you return to the market, but at least you will have a list of people that are ready and willing to go, who are qualified and motivated people. So that's why I think it's also important as a seller to think about what it means to change your status from active to contingent versus active to pending. Now, here's a bonus tip as a seller. Depending on where you're located, more often than not, as long as both buyer and seller agree in writing as part of the original contract that the seller may keep the status of the listing as active, even if under contract, until passing an inspection. This could be written as part of the contract once again. That could be an opportunity for the seller to still remain active, still get a lot of activity as backup only. Remember this, the seller cannot back out of their current deal without major repercussions. We won't go over that right now. But that, as a buyer, could be an incentive to have your offer accepted. Wouldn't you agree? Because now the seller doesn't feel like, oh wow, I'm really missing out. Of course, there are other terms that would impact whether or not your offer is going to be accepted, but it's definitely something that could spice the deal and literally doesn't impact you whatsoever. But again, it does have to be agreed upon in writing as part of the original contract. So that's a bonus tip for both buyer and seller to think about. The seller, maybe you want to try to have your realtor negotiate that on your behalf. Make sure it's written very well so that everybody's protected. And then also from the buyer perspective, potentially have your realtor write that up as well, and knowing that you guys would be protected. Okay, as always, do your due diligence, but that's my 2 cents. If I were buying or selling right now, that's one thing I would definitely consider as part of my offer. Because remember, most things right now are multiple offer situations, so it's very tough. Maybe you're competing with 14 other buyers, even as many as 30, or who knows, even more. So anything and everything that you can do to spice up your offer, not always necessarily just the money or the price, but the terms. You know, what are you allowing the seller to do? Are you going to let them stay a little bit past closing, so on and so forth? And again, if any of these sound interesting that you want to know more about, again, drop a note in the comment, let me know, and perhaps I'll make a video for you going over it. Now, in my professional opinion, in this market, these conditions right now, it's in your best interest not to have any contingencies that you absolutely do not need. Okay, of course, as always, to make a decision like that, you'll want to sit down with your loved ones, your trusted realtor, your lender if you're getting financing, potentially even an attorney, to discuss your rights, so you know all sides of the coin and can make the right choice for you and your loved ones. And also, guys, if you're getting value out of this video, please do let me know in the comments below, and don't be shy, hit that like button, and that way I can keep making videos just like this for you. If you have other questions that I could cover, I'm always happy to do so, whether or not you're in the Seattle, Washington market or in the South Florida market. Question for you. Have you come across the word contingent before? What was your experience like? Once again, guys, if you've gotten value out of this video, I would super appreciate it if you leave a comment down below, any questions, comments, and don't be afraid to hit that like button. Thanks so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video.
You're like a circle that floats around.